Hi, Caitlin Tyczka.
Hello.
I used your last name because I wasn't sure, and you clarified it is Tyczka. Is that right?
hmm Yes, 100%
I love it. I love it, Tyczka. And it is. I guessed that it was Czech, but I was wrong. What is it?
Polish.
It's Polish. And how often in your life do you need to correct people's pronunciations?
My entire life so far. When people would when the principal would ask for me in high school, like to come to the office, he would be like, Caitlin, pause, and everyone would know that it was Caitlin Tishka.
I totally get it. You might not think that I get it because I go by Eric Taylor, but I was born Eric Di Giacomo, which is a very Italian name. For any listeners who know the Italian language or spend any time over there, Di Giacomo is very common actually, but it's difficult because it has two different parts. So it's DI space capital Giacomo, and no English speakers got it correct for the first 16 years of my life. And I was called all sorts of other variations of DiGiacomo. I was called DeWakamole. I was called DeJockstrap. I was called all these things. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Exactly. Yeah. I was called Caitlin, like Caitlin Tissue, Caitlin Tit, whatever. Caitlin, go by a vowel, please. Um,
Go
like
by
a
that.
teacher said, Caitlin, please buy a vowel. And I was like, what can
Yeah.
I do?
Yeah. What do you want me to do with that? Like you're my authority. You're a teacher, and now you're making fun of my name.
Yeah.
I mean, the guacamole that came from a teacher in school too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What brilliant buttholes that one of us, right?
Exactly.
Well, I understand, like I've been challenged with also challenge like changing my last name for marketing purposes. Somehow there was never anything that really like stuck with me, so I just kept on with Tishka. And although it's very confusing, it's still kind of worked out over my,
Yeah.
16 years in the industry. So I guess we're here
Right.
still. But yeah, I have been challenged just like you, and it's hard to know if you should or should not change your last name.
I think the way my perspective is that it is an unusual name is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because it's unique, right? It identifies you in a certain way. Um, I don't know if you've ever been to Poland. It doesn't really matter that my name is from Italy. I've been in the United States my entire life. But that's the positive thing, and the negative thing is what we discussed already. So there is a positive and negative to it. If you're going to keep it, which you have, and now you have a professional reputation and all that, nah, it's good. It's probably a positive thing. So, all right. You're a St. Louis hairdresser and owner of a salon called Homegrown Hair Company. You've been published many times and nominated many times for many awards in your career. We're not going to go through them all unless you want to. We could spend 20 minutes talking about all of the nominations, but I doubt you want to do that. And last but not least, you're a Schwarzkopf artist. I think newly, right? New Schwarzkopf artist?
I've officially become a part of the Schwarzkopf team.
Awesome.
After like 7 years of working, like using their products, I finally decided to make this one night stand relationship a marriage. So yeah,
Very
with
good.
Schwarzkopf now.
It sounds like a 7-year nightstand.
Exactly.
Well, that's kind of interesting to me. So Schwarzkopf is based, it's German, I think, correct?
Yes.
But their U.S. headquarters is in Los Angeles, is in Culver City.
hmm
And I think I saw on your gram that you've been to the headquarters there,
hmm
which I've been to several times as well. It's beautiful headquarters. What was that like? Well, actually, don't answer that question. First, tell me, for 7 years, you've been using Schwarzkopf. How did you get to the point where you're now sponsored by them? And recognize that you're speaking to, thousands of beauty professionals, many of whom want to also be paid, for using a product that they've been loyal to for many years. So how did that happen for you?
So what's even better about this question is I'm not sponsored by them.
Ooh.
I'm not sponsored. I have done the work to become one of their educators. So, and the difference is like through being an influencer throughout the years, I've had what I would call one night stand relationships with a lot of different companies. And I've produced work on their behalf. And what I decided after a while was like, I don't really want to just like post things and say like, you know, I did use, so and so brand to create this look. I want to finally align with a brand that I keep consistently using over the years. Schwarzkopf, that started with me 7 years ago whenever I became independent, and then 5 years ago whenever I became a salon owner. And believe me, I wasn't like necessarily like, I am all in on Schwarzkopf. I'm only going to do things for them. I wanted the relationship to evolve, which it did. And watching how Schwarzkopf has evolved, watching how everything has happened around them, I've been able to be a far better colorist. I've been able to be a far better salon owner. Everybody that is under my umbrella at Homegrown is enjoying the Schwarzkopf experience as well. So the proof is in the pudding. So after that, I was like, I'm ready to do the work to become an educator, whatever I need to be with Schwarzkopf, because I want to align with a brand that keeps evolving the same way that I do. And that just recently happened. I did all my modules. I recently completed my certification at the headquarters, as you said, very beautiful headquarters. And I'm just really excited to continue my relationship with them. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So when you said that you're not getting paid by them, you mean that the compensation that you get is probably on what, a per diem when you're educating?
Yes.
Okay.
As of right now.
Okay. And what does that look like? Maybe you don't have to give us exact numbers, but just for the curiosity of the listeners, how many days are you thinking per month? And I know it's new, so if you don't know, it's totally fine to say I don't know yet. But what do you think? What is your expectation for how it's going to go down?
Well, yeah, I just recently, like, I completed it less than a week ago, so I can't produce numbers for
Got
sure.
it.
But whenever I do influencer work, my per diem is at least $800 a day. And
Okay.
obviously, when you're trying to evolve with a relationship with the company, it can look a little differently, but I can't say really what they give me at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, brand new. I'm sorry. I'm asking you questions like you've been doing it for a while,
No, it's
and
okay.
it's this week.
Been a lot of people think
What's that?
a lot of people think that I have been doing this with Schwarzkopf for a while, so that's why
Okay.
I completely understand where you're
Cool.
at.
Well, what are you able to do with your schedule? Because you've got a salon, you've got clients, you're busy. So, I mean, how much time do you even have available for kind of a third job, if you will?
Well, that's how you have to think about the future. Obviously, I've done the influencer work and I've learned the ins and outs of that. Now I've decided to have a relationship with the company. I decided on Schwarzkopf and a few others are in the binder as well. But what you have to do is you have to see what your own business is doing first, how they're all feeling, and then you have to see what do I have to do to further this other opportunity. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking into 2025. How can I balance all of this stuff and keep my salon family happy, keep my business happy, keep my partners happy? I'm going to go down to potentially working 3 days a week.
Behind the chair.
Yeah, so that I can open up further opportunity. Right now, I work 4 to 5 days behind the chair still as a salon owner. But because I want to focus on education, I mean, everything that you do is an investment, right? So I want to be more available to educate to other salons. So I'm opening up another day and taking one day away from behind the chair. And I'm adjusting my prices based off of that. So you just have to do a little mental math in order to make sure that you're taken care of in your advances behind the chair as well.
And I guess that makes sense because you're limiting the amount of time that you have for your clients, limiting the amount of clients that you're going to be able to see. So it makes sense that you could raise your prices to make it so that those clients who want to see you the most are the ones that continue to come to you, right? A little bit of supply and demand here. The supply of your hours is limiting, and hopefully the demand for your services is stable, and so you can make that make sense. Is that how you're thinking of it?
Yeah, and to also like meet the demand of the education that people want as well.
Yeah,
We're
sure.
here in the Midwest, we're in St. Louis. People want it and need it hard.
Mm.
So I'm really excited to provide that to people further. Like, the Midwest is very desperate for education that is beyond the general. And I think that this is a really good opportunity. One of the main reasons I was approached about becoming an educator in my region is because it's 100% needed.
And from your gram and from what I can determine by studying you, you do a lot of creative color, but you also cut, and your cuts are very creative. So which area are you going to focus on for your education?
I appreciate you like recognizing my cuts because I was first a person that like specialized in cutting. And I had a salon owner that wanted me to only do that. And I stuck with my gut and I was like, no, I need to focus on color too. And color is what I became most known for. So thank you for recognizing that first and foremost.
Oh, I mean, well, you're welcome. It's obvious. I mean, looking at your page and your kind of portfolio, if you will,
Not to,
that I love that kind of creative cutting. I know that there's probably a lack of clients who have creative lifestyles and want to have a look that's alternative. And I say that just guessing because you walk around in the world, and I mean, I walk around in Los Angeles, which is considered a creative place with a lot of creatives, and they don't have haircuts. I mean, 99.9% of people don't have cuts as cool as a lot of your clients do. And it's too bad, but maybe because it's hard. Maybe more clients would do that kind of thing if their hairdressers were leaning into that kind of a skill set. I don't know. Well, how do you think of it?
you can't sleep on the Midwest. We're doing shit out here. we
Apparently.
I know, like we're considered a flyover area, but I'm telling you, the culture is so deep. It's so deep. So much of what like happens in the middle of this country trickle effects out. And I know that people don't think that, but it really does truly happen. Like, what do people got to lose out here? Like,
That's funny.
yeah, there's
I
no
didn't expect you to say that.
there's no facade. Like everybody's just like,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm gonna go at it 100% or 0%. There's a huge divide between like what people do physically, and it's really cool to see that like we're like there's a lot of conservativeness whenever it comes to Missouri, clearly, and then there's St. Louis,
The
and
city.
completely different. And it's
Okay.
so incredibly special, and that's exactly why I've invested my time here. I never in my life thought that I would stay in St. Louis, but the city wrapped its arms around me. The way that I express myself, the things that I like to do, the people that I service, I mean, they come to me. I don't necessarily just generate it. It exists here. And I think that that's the most important thing for everyone to realize is like the Midwest, it's going on here.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, I love to hear that. I sometimes, if when people like to talk about the culture of Los Angeles, I mean, it certainly has its reputations, but Los Angeles is a melting pot. It's a cauldron of people from all over the country, certainly Midwest. I mean, most of the people that you meet in Los Angeles seem to be from elsewhere. So you get a lot of people coming in from lots of different places. But I know a lot of people from the Midwest, and they're awesome. There's really, I don't consider any difference between them and necessarily anybody else. But I love that it's happening in St. Louis, and you're there to kind of take advantage of all that kind of creativity and doing things maybe a little bit differently, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, just you see the potential and then you snowball off of it, essentially.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
it's kind of like I'll meet you where you're at and I'll expand upon that and evolve it the same way, which is exactly how my career did all those things. And that's how I look at my clients in the chair. Like, what do you want and how do you feel?
Hmm.
I'll take it where you want to go, or I'll keep it here too.
Hmm.
And that's
Hmm.
exactly how my career has developed in St. Louis.
And I'm sure now your reputation is such that if people want something creative, they know that you're there. They probably find you, and that's a great place to be for you. So now that we've already gone into a little bit of what you're doing, I want to bring you back to the beginning. Where are you from originally, and how did you get into hair?
I love this story. So thank you for asking me it, and thank you for wanting to know it about me.
Sweet.
My God, my relationship with hair happened so incredibly organically. I can't I can't even believe it. I'm almost 34 years old. I started in the industry when I was 16. And I would just like I would do a lot of crazy things to my hair. And my mom would get pissed at me and she would be like, "You need to go see a hairdresser. Go to mine." We went to the best hair salon that was just a couple blocks down the street. I would go there enough and I would go all over the place. I would go to Chicago and other places and I would just like mess with my hair. And then I would come back to that hair salon and they were like, it was the first time they had ever heard of Pravana. And they were like, "Oh, you what is this purple that you have in your hair?" And I'm like, "It's Pravana. Can we get rid of it somehow? Maybe." And, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, let's like give it a go." But they like were asking me about the brand, and I'm like, "I don't know much about it," but like I kept like having these like little powwows with people at the hair salon that I would frequent, and then one
Mm.
day they were like, "Caitlin, do you want to work here?" And I was like, "Sure." Money. I love hair. I love doing. And then I was hired. Like I had foils in my hair, and I was hired that day.
Wow.
And I became a receptionist. This was in Southern Illinois, so the rules are a little different than here in Missouri. I was assisting the stylist there. I was helping to shampoo and do stuff like that. I started at the literal like bottom, what we consider it, and I am so thankful for that journey because it taught me so incredibly much. And I attended every single. It was a Paul Mitchell salon. Props to
Hmm.
Paul Mitchell. They are some of the best education systems that people can ever have. And I would attend all the classes, and I was just like, you know what? Like, I can do this. I know I can. And there was one day a stylist cut her knuckle off at the shop
Ooh.
and had to go to the ER. And she was like, "Caitlin, I need you to finish this client. I have to go to the ER. And I was like, okay.
From behind the desk?
So I was
Oh
pulled
boy.
from behind the desk. They knew that I like loved
N-
it. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. I rounded
no license,
that hair
I'm assuming.
and then I curled it and I styled her client out and then I checked the same client out and I was like, I can do this.
I'm in.
Yeah. And then after that, this is the interesting thing about partnering with Schwarzkopf at the moment. I moved to Germany after I graduated high school, and I lived out there for a while, and I was a nanny, and I cut everyone's hair in the village that I lived in. It was a
Whoa. Okay, so when did you go to Germany? Before you started working at the salon or after you started working in the salon?
after I worked in the
Okay.
salon for 2 years, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life, so I just like moved to Germany.
Wow. Germany? Why Germany?
Um, I befriended a foreign exchange student, and she became my best friend. I moved out there and I worked in her parents' kitchen for a little while, and then I became a nanny. And then
Wait, what were you doing in her kitchen?
I was washing dishes.
Oh, like being like helping out at the house and they're paying you for it.
It
That's
was a
cool.
it was a full-blown restaurant, and hotel.
Oh,
So I had to, I couldn't do very much, so I had to wash dishes because I couldn't speak the language yet. And yeah,
right.
that's where I started.
That's amazing. That is so cool. I lived in Italy, but it was for school, so it's different. I mean, you got the real deal experience. And I know that there are listeners driving down the street on their way to the salons, to their salon, and they're thinking, God darn it, I wish I'd done that when I was young too. So, how long were you there total?
I was there for a year and a half.
And you spoke what percentage German when you got there? Zero or like
Zero.
zero?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
And your friend spoke a little English, I guess.
yes.
Okay. And of course, there's Germans who speak English. We're very lucky as English speakers that so many different countries speak English. But was that difficult to not speak the language?
It was difficult. But once I became a nanny, I took another side job. I was able to learn the language and can speak it relatively fluently to this day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Ich kann ein bisschen Deutsch sprechen, wann du willst. I can speak a
So
little bit of German when you want.
that's pretty good. Well, you got all the words that I know already. So so you got a job. You worked as a nanny. Did the parents of the child want you to speak English to the child to teach them English?
Yes. However, the children were so young that they couldn't speak very much English, and neither could the parents. This was so when you go to big towns in Germany, which I'm sure that you've also like experienced in Europe, people will speak English with you, but when you go to the smaller ones, even if they can, they won't.
Mm.
So it was a blessing simultaneously as it was like kind of difficult because I was forced to learn it. But it was actually one of the best things that could have ever happened to me because I fast tracked my myself learning German and now I can still speak it to this day. And that's what was also very interesting with me partnering with Schwarzkopf. I'm like, oh, the headquarters are in Hamburg. Hello.
That's so cool. Okay, so you worked as a nanny. You were there for a year and a half. This was after your salon experience. So you didn't have a hair license yet, correct?
Yeah, no, I just graduated high school when I lived out there.
Okay, all right. So then what'd you do?
Well, I looked into what it would take to attend a college out there and stuff like that, and it was going to be extremely difficult. Especially, I could speak German fluently, but I spoke it as a foreigner, and that doesn't still provide a lot of opportunity. Germans
Right.
definitely want you to speak very articulately in order to get like really good positions out there. There was no way I was going to be able to attend a university, and I always wanted to do art school or hair school. So I came home after a while and I decided to do hair school, cosmetology school, and yeah, I started then and graduated when I was like 21 years old.
Okay. And given your salon experience already, was hair school pretty, maybe not easy, but was it probably wasn't that difficult.
I think we all know hair school sucks, no matter what.
I don't think anyone, I think maybe only a handful out of almost 400 interviews have said that they loved hair school.
Right. Especially hair school in Southern Illinois. My good golly. It doesn't even exist anymore, the hair school that I went to. It was called Alvarita's College of Cosmetology. And bless Alvarita for existing. But it was not a very fun school by any means. I was told a million times that if I wasn't willing to do more, if I wasn't willing to follow the rules, that I would equate to probably nothing in the industry.
Yeah. It's kind of like that John Mayer song, right? They want you to color within the lines,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and he wanted to run down the hall of his high school and scream at the top of his lungs. You know
Yes.
that? You know those lyrics? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. They told me that because I saw, like, I would be like, oh my God, I saw, this is when balayage was like, it was actually not balayage yet. It was ombre.
Yeah.
I was not,
Yeah.
ombre was the only thing that existed because of the hills and all that shit. And
Yeah.
I found a Redken video that showed how to do it, and I was showing my peers and stuff like that, and they were like, Caitlin, if you keep like, doing this stuff, like you're not going to get very far. People are not going to want to work with you. And I was like, but I'm supply and demand. The demand is ombre. I'm supplying it to my friends over here. And they were just like, well,
Yeah.
if you keep doing this, you're not going to graduate very well. Like, you're not going to do any of this stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. And the industry is very confusing at the very least.
Because it wasn't on the curriculum of the school. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
So everybody wanted it in the real world, but the school had a certain rigid curriculum. They didn't care about teaching you the things that were actually going to make you money, the things that the clients actually wanted. It was just what they wanted to teach.
Well, it's because they didn't exist in the world that actually makes them money in a salon.
Right.
And so,
Well, that's the case. That's the case for almost any school.
yeah,
It doesn't have a hair school or no hair school. I mean, if you look at the curriculum for a lot of colleges, they're teaching the kids things that don't matter.
yeah. It's just so unfortunate because I do believe that education is like, I think we all know, the pinnacle of what keeps us in this industry. And as a now educator myself, a more formal educator myself, I never want to deny people of the things that are coming up in this world. And I think that's the difference between then and now. Like, there was so much like pushback of the
Yeah.
fact that, like, I was like, okay, I see this. I'm gonna try it out. And they were like, no, you're never gonna get anywhere with that. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll see you in 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so frustrating, isn't it? I mean, they just wanted to make life easy for themselves. They wanted to take your tuition money, get you out of there, and not have to actually change anything or pay attention to the industry and have to develop new curricula. And that's too bad. All right, so they're not there anymore, and here you are. So you came out on top on that deal.
Yeah, luckily. I mean, I thank them wholeheartedly. Like, I still love my participation in cosmetology school. I have a friend that's going to aesthetic school right now, and watching her videos and stuff just brings me so much joy because I remember those those days. And it is nostalgic in a really wonderful way. It's just, I think whenever it comes to school, you have to honor the people that are teaching you simultaneously with like developing your own skill set and trusting your own instincts whenever it comes to it all. You wouldn't be here without that, and I wouldn't either.
100%. 100%. Critical thinking is very important. Anytime you hand your brain over to anyone or anything and you go on autopilot, that's not a good thing to do. So that's such a great point to make. That's like the highlight of this episode. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, so you graduate, and then where'd you go? What'd you do?
So I graduated, and I was working in concert venues in St. Louis, at night to get myself through cosmetology school. And I was lucky enough to have met a few hairdressers during that time, and I had a few job offers out of school.
Awesome.
And I chose my first one, and I am very thankful for it. But I could definitely tell that it was not like something that was very much for me. It was a little too traditional, and I was working my ass off in order to get myself through. Even after you graduate cosmetology school, you have to like oftentimes hold a second job before you get to where you want to be in the industry. And I felt a little bullied at my first salon.
Oh, interesting.
And
Do tell.
well, I was told that my eyebrows were too far apart. I was told that my hair
What?
was, yeah, I was told that my hair was too big. I was told that the way that I dressed was ridiculous. I was told
Okay.
yeah.
So, and was this multiple hairstylists at the salon or just like one? I mean, we all have images of high school or whatever, grade school, where, there's a couple kids and they're bullies and they're assholes and they're like so so give us kind of the lay of the land here. How'd this go down?
Well, we're talking 13 years ago now, so things were definitely vastly different, and this was pretty normalized at that moment. Yeah, no, I was just like highly picked upon. Like I didn't really enjoy my time there. I was doing my best, and my clients were super happy. I was building very quickly, but just like existing as I was just wasn't really like doing it for anybody. And it really sucked, and it was very heartbreaking. And it's something that I knew because I like talked to my mom on my last day there, and I was like, I'm not sure that this industry is for me. And she goes, that place isn't for you. Leave now.
Smart mom.
She's such a smart mom. Carrie, you're the best mom in the world.
Fist bump.
She was like, the longer you're there, the longer you're going to disappoint people, including potential new clients who
Yeah.
love you. So I quit there, and I found a salon that was like the most up and coming hair salon at the time in St. Louis. Super awesome. The way that I got this job, I got the job. I was not employed for less than a week. I looked at the shop that I wanted to work at, and I was like, how do I get that boss's attention? And I made an appointment with him for a haircut.
Ah, smart. I like that.
But I didn't get a haircut. I said, I want to sit down with you and I want to talk because I want to work for you.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't want to stay in St. Louis.
Oh my gosh. So you booked an appointment. You booked an appointment for a haircut. And like, did you intend to pay for the haircut appointment? But you didn't want to actually get your haircut. You wanted to talk to him about getting a job. I love that.
Yeah. I was fully like open to paying for the entire appointment with him. I just wanted to make sure that I was visible to him and stood out. And so I was like, I want to book an appointment with the with the salon owner. Luckily, he had an appointment that like Monday or something like that. And then I sat down in his chair, and then he was like, "What do you want to do with your hair?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I just want to talk to you about a job."
So you sat down in the chair and then told him that you didn't want a haircut, you just want to talk about a job. And how did he react?
He was like, "Awesome." And then we went to the front and we sat down on the couch, and then we talked about the industry and why I left my old place, and he gave me a job that day.
Wow, so cool.
Yeah.
All the listeners are like cheering. I can hear them in the background. I don't know if you can, but I can hear them in the background. Okay, so you got a job at this place, and how long did you work there?
I worked there for a couple years before they expanded into a bigger location, which I helped develop. Um,
Okay.
and then I probably worked there for him in total for like 8 years.
Oh, great. So
Hmm.
that was a good relationship, huh?
It was good while it was good.
It was good while it was good. That's
While it was
fair
good.
enough. Okay, so here's the deal. So we've gotten through your story. I love this. We've got 5 more minutes. We're going to continue with your story, and then I want to bring you back for a second episode. How does that sound?
It sounds great.
Okay, because we have more to talk about then. But okay, so you were with him for about 8 years or so.
Hmm.
And so do you want to talk about that relationship, or at least that evolution?
Well, I mean, it's the principle that I follow now that I'm like 5 years a salon owner. When opportunity lacks, you can't fault people for moving on. So that's exactly what I did. I needed more opportunity. I wanted things to look a little differently. I had dreamt of a salon that could feel a little different and stuff like that. And I went independent and I worked as a rental stylist for a little while. All right, well, I was at a commission salon. Now I'm at rental. How do I marry these two together and make it function really well? And I looked into a lot of different ways that you can create a salon, and I just willy nilly started one, a 900 square foot salon 5 years ago, and I've now expanded it 5 years later into a salon that is over double the size, and we have 11 stylists. And it's probably the most joyful thing I've ever done in my life because I was not the only person that felt like things should be a little different.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love it to death. Okay, so thank you for the story. It was a lot of fun listening to it. I want to ask you more questions. So um, you will come back and we'll do a second episode and we'll talk about other things. How does that sound?
Sounds great to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Caitlin. Talk to you soon.